Okay, so now that God has chosen his nation, we need to understand something important. Scripture is about that nation. It's written to, for, and about Israel. It's only dealing with the other nations and their proximity to Israel. You're not reading about the Philistines, etc. So it's about his people. God makes a covenant with them through Abraham to be their God. And he says, look up. I'm going to give you that land as far as the eye can see, and I'm going to make you into a great multitude of nations. So then Abraham has Isaac and he has Ishmael. But Isaac is the promised child. So the promise goes to Isaac, that he will make him a great multitude of nations. So Isaac has Jacob and Esau. The blessing goes to Jacob, and the promise to become a great multitude goes to Jacob as well. Jacob has 12 sons who become the 12 tribes of Israel. Now we're going to fast forward to the end of Jacob's life when he's blessing them. He goes through their blessings, and then he does something very important, very prophetic. He takes the sons of Joseph and he adopts them as his own, Ephraim and Manasseh. He then goes to put blessings on them. He starts to put the firstborn blessing on the younger of the two, Ephraim. Joseph tries to stop him, and he says, I know, my son, Manasseh will be a nation, and he'll be great, but Ephraim will be greater than him. He shall become a multitude of nations. That's Melohagoim in the original. I'll get back to that. So we see the promise of the multitude went to Abraham, from Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, and it now resides with Ephraim. This is a very important thing to understand. I want it to sink in. So Ephraim equals multitude. Got it? Good. Okay. Now moving forward, we know what happens to Israel. They're not quite called Israel at this point, but we know them. They end up in Egypt as slaves for a long time until God raises up a deliverer. So God raises up a deliverer to bring them out, and he makes a covenant with them inside of Egypt. Unfortunately, he brings them out of Egypt and they break that covenant. So he has to renew the covenant at Mount Sinai. You see, this is a renewal of a covenant. It's not a new covenant that's happening here. It's a renewal of the marriage covenant. They have the contract and everything. So he recovenants with them. And then for the next 40 years, they wander the wilderness. He's guiding them through the wilderness. A lot of things happen in the wilderness. Two important things are, he gives them his laws. And he also gives them the pattern for the tabernacle. And then at the end of the wandering, they come to the Jordan River, about to cross into the promised land, and they begin to read through the law. They go through all the law. Moses is reading it. And then afterwards, he comes to the end and starts to go through the blessings if they keep his law and the curses if they don't. Now, at the end of the long line of curses, comes to this one. It says, I will scatter you among all nations of the earth if you do not hearken to his words. So he says, if you do not hearken to these words, then the Lord your God will scatter you among all nations from one end of the earth even to the other. There you will worship other gods, gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your fathers have known. This is one of the most important prophecies of Scripture, rarely taught on.